Hello and welcome to Celtic Way Transfer Special on Sead Haksabanovic. And today, Tony and Sean are delighted to be joined by Swedish football journalist and expert Makoto Asahara. Welcome, Makoto, to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm fine. Fun to be with.
Yes, we're going to talk about Sead Haksabanovic, who, under the radar, Sean, signed for Celtic yesterday amidst the Champions League draw. But he signed a 5-year deal, and if reports are to be believed, Celtic got him for a cup price less than £2 million, when last year he was reputedly worth £6 million. So the first thing I'll ask you, Makoto, I think that's a good deal for Celtic, is it not?
That sounds like a really good deal considering his age. He's only 23 still. Just a couple of years ago when he was sold to Rubin Kazan, 2021, he was sold for much more than that. I think when Norrköping bought him after his loan from West Ham, it was about £2 million, somewhere in that area. So considering that, it's a very good deal. But it's of course because of the situation in Russia where he wants to leave the club and wants to get out. So I think it's a win-win situation for both Sead and for Celtic.
One of the things that we hear Ange Postecoglou say very often when it comes to transfers and his recruitment process in general is that he doesn't just sign players, he signs people. With that in mind, and to the best of your knowledge, obviously, what kind of personality does Haksabanovic have? Is he the kind of guy that will be popular, a leading member of the dressing room, despite the fact he's only 23?
I would say he is in Sweden. He was a kind of a extravagant person. You saw him with his own license plate on his car and that kind of thing.
Hey, okay.
But he also is a good team player. He shows it on the pitch. Also, he has the stat. He likes to have. He shows. It seems like a star. You get the feeling that a star walks into the room. That kind of feeling. But I'd say that he's still a good team player. I'd say, like sporting wise, if you look at him, get reminded a lot of Eden Hazard, that type of player. A very good with the ball. Doesn't do so many points maybe, but always does something constructive with the ball. Always links up with his teammates. Can be used in different positions. So it's a very good acquisition in that sense. So he has star power, but still I'd call him a good team player also, and there has been no controversies or anything that kind of situations in his previous clubs in Sweden either. Even if you would get the feeling from outside maybe that he could be a player that could create controversies, he's a team player from what I've seen at least.
He's had a crack in British football before with West Ham, Makoto, and that didn't work out. But do you feel that he's better equipped this time to cope with a move to Celtic?
Yeah, considering that when he went to West Ham, he was very young. He didn't have any kind of experience really even from the Allsvenskan, like Swedish league. Yeah. So he was a super talent from a very young age when he got his first minutes in Halmstad. It's almost 2015, 2017 there. And he was too young to make a mark in West Ham. I think when he took the next step was when he went on loan to Norrköping, when he found another level of quality. He was one of the best players in the league during that time, and also considering what Norrköping paid for him to buy him from West Ham, that's a record transfer for Norrköping. They would never spend that kind of money. Also with the knowledge that they could be able to sell him. Now they sold him to Rubin Kazan afterwards. But I think it was during that time that he got his big break and developed into the player he is today. So it's a completely different player that Celtic are buying now, considering the one that West Ham bought 4 or 5 years ago.
Tactically, there's been some debate as to where he might fit in under Ange Postecoglou in terms of whether it be out wide on either flank or maybe even as a number 8 in central midfield. Versatility is useful, but where do you think he's actually been at his best so far in his career?
I'd say he would be much better to use at the flank or the wings offensively rather than in a number 8 role, because he's an offensive player. He's an attacking player, and he wants to have a lot of ball. He wants to be a lot involved in the build-up, but in the build-up on the last third of the pitch.
Yeah.
So I'd say that he's been often used, for example, as a left winger or a right winger. He can be used as both. But he is the type of player that wants to have a lot of ball, is very good at linking up with his teammates from that position. Like I said before, a bit Eden Hazard-like, of course, not the same level, but that type of player in his strength, I would say.
Can I ask you, Makoto? He played with Karel Starfelt at Rubin Kazan. Now, the Swede might be important to him moving forward in terms of helping him settling in at Celtic. He could play a crucial role in helping Haksabanovic, couldn't he, in the immediate future?
Yeah, of course. It feels pretty obvious that they will hang out in some sense when he comes there, and he's the only other Swede. Also, Celtic, from a Swedish perspective, is a classic club. Many Swedes have played for Celtic. You guys know that, of course, also with Henrik Larsson and everything through the years. So, in that sense, it's a very logical step to take, and it's not. I don't think it will be like a big cultural difference in that sense for him to go in. But of course, it helps to have Karl Starfelt. They never played together in Sweden, but as you said, in Russia, where it's almost more important to have someone that you know also, I would assume. So, of course, that will help his acclimatization to Celtic.
Makoto, I realised that Haksabanovic was born in Sweden, but he's a Montenegro international, and he becomes the first Montenegrin to sign for the Celtic first team. So just a word on that kind of historic aspect of it. It's something that will go down in the annals of club history, regardless of how it actually works out for him, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say that it's interesting because he's one of many players that have been born in Sweden, could have chosen Sweden, but decided to choose his other country instead. And that has been somewhat of a problem in the Swedish national team, that many young, talented players decide to play for another country instead. That Sweden has been pretty slow with trying to get young quality to get them into the national team, and therefore they go to other teams instead. In Sead Haksabanovic's case, it's a big loss for Sweden that he decides to play for Montenegro. But I understand his decision because he was very much quicker into that team and have gotten a lot of national team games also. But I'd say that, yeah, of course, I don't think that he thinks about that he's the first Montenegrinian player in Celtic, but still, of course, that's the historic aspect of it.
Now, he also said that when he heard of Celtic's interest, Makoto, that he instructed his agent to make that move happen. Do you get the feeling that Celtic are kind of on the move under Ange Postecoglou? They're competing in the Champions League. It's quite an enticing and exciting prospect for a player to sign for Celtic at this moment in time.
Yeah, we've all seen how much Champions League games matter to players. Like, they want to play in the Champions League. And also, I think something that makes Celtic an attractive destination for many players are that the atmosphere, the crowd, the fans, the support, those kind of things are so important for players. The reason that Haksabanovic chose Djurgården in Sweden when he came back was because he wanted to play in Stockholm. He wanted to play in front of the big crowds in big stadiums. And therefore, I'm pretty sure that the Celtic fans and everything around the club is a very important factor in that he chose Celtic. And of course, the Champions League. Playing in Champions League, it's a classic club. It's a club that people in Sweden grow up knowing about, considering Henke Larsson and everything like that. So in that sense, I think all these aspects played in that he chose Celtic.
How do you think, and this kind of ties in with Tony's question about the West Ham move, but how do you think he'll cope going from the likes of Norrköping and Djurgården and Rubin Kazan to Celtic in terms of expectation level? Because he's trading clubs who are not particularly used to chasing success in the form of trophies to one that is almost judged solely on their ability to get trophies.
I'd say his half year in Djurgården was a good indication of what's to expect. Because if you play in one of the Stockholm teams in Djurgården, Hammarby or AIK, you have extremely high expectations on you. They always have some kind of a hope or goal to go the entire way and win titles. They don't always do that. That's a different thing, because you have Malmö that's much better than everybody else and have much more money. But for him, he wants to have that pressure. That's why he chose Djurgården. He wants to have the fans around. He wants to feel that pressure. He wants to feel that he's a star and that much depends on him. And like I said, that's the sole reason he came to Djurgården, is because the pressure and the fans and expectations. So that part also, I think, is something that is for Celtic, that he wants to have this pressure. He wants to be in a team that can compete and win and have that pressure. Otherwise, he could have gone to a middle team in some of the bigger leagues, because let's face it, the Scottish league overall, that is not the highest level in Europe, but still Celtic, Rangers, those teams, that's something different, and I think that's what he wants.
You talk about the star quality, Makoto. Ange Postecoglou is very much the kind of team collective with a sprinkling of star quality. But, are you hoping that Haksabanovic can be that kind of star in the team?
It will be interesting to see, of course, considering that for me, I haven't seen so much of Celtic team now. I know there's a lot of Japanese players nowadays that have done great success. It depends, of course, on what impact he has on the pitch, but he has some kind of star quality, and if you have him on the pitch, he's going to be involved in a lot. He wants to have a lot of the ball. He wants to be involved in the build-up play. He wants to be involved in creating chances. So in that sense, yes, if he plays, he's going to be a player that you notice. He's going to be a player that will be involved in a lot. So I would say yes.
Makoto, just basically building on that, several players, both new and existing, have improved under Ange Postecoglou, his kind of training regime and his regime in general. And I suppose when you're saying Haksabanovic is basically the star quality already there, I suppose the question is, to your knowledge, is he coachable in that respect? Is he a coachable star?
Yes, that's what I was into before also, that even if he is a star and even if he can seem very flashy with his own licensing plate on the car with Sead Haksabanovic and those kind of things, and branding clothes and all that, he is a very coachable star, because otherwise he wouldn't have succeeded in IFK Norrköping, which is a club that is really where young players go to develop, to take the next step. He obviously was coachable there. He's coachable in Djurgården. So that point, I have no fear about whatsoever. He's going to be. He's not going to make any scandals in any sense. That because he's like a team player and he's coachable. Yes.
Will you be able to go and see him, Makoto, in the Champions League? Have you penciled that in to come across and see him?
It would be fun. I don't think that in the media business we don't have that budget to go though, so we'll see what happens. But it will be fun to see him. And for my part, it's also half Japanese. Celtic is a very interesting team to follow right now, considering all the Japanese stars that have come to the club also. And now we also have 2 Swedish players. So there's a big reason for me at least to go and see Celtic.
Yep.
Can you go, Sean? You.
No, I was just going to say that what you were saying there, that's it's an interesting team, if nothing else, to be honest, Tony, isn't it? It's it's a team full of
Going to ask Makoto, what have you made of the impact of the Japanese players, Makoto, as well, with Ange coming over from Yokohama F. Marinos and bringing players that he knew could do a job for Celtic, but every one of them has hit the ground running and has succeeded so far.
The funny thing is also that you can see Celtic games in Japan now in a different sense. They have the popularity around Celtic, considering they have so many Japanese national players and players from the Japanese league. It's a very smart concept to bring them in a group also. And as you say, I think they help each other a lot to succeed as they have done. So I think they have something good going on. And just going into the Champions League, that means a lot, of course. Then we'll see what they can do from the Champions League. That's a different thing, but still, I think I get the feeling, at least from the outside, that Celtic are on the right path to being one of the best in the Scottish League again.
Now I'll ask you: do you see the Champions League being a stage for Haksabanovic? Is that what he craves?
I would say it's a stage. I don't think he has played in the Champions League before, from what I remember at least. So of course, I think that part, to be able to play the European top league, like in that stage, means a lot for him choosing this step in his career. Then we'll of course see what impact he can have against some of the best teams in the world. I'm not sure, because I'm used to seeing him in an environment where he is technically and everything on top of all others.
Yeah.
That is in the Swedish league. So I'm used to seeing him in that environment. It would be harder maybe to judge what type of impact he can make against better teams.
Excellent. Well, Sean, you got anything else to add, Sean?
No, I don't, Tony. You get anything?
No, I just want to say thanks very much, Makoto, for that wonderful insight. Thanks for coming on the programme. We appreciate it.
Very much appreciate it. Yep.
Yeah, always a pleasure to be filled in by journalists who know and have first-hand knowledge of Celtic targets. And I mean, that's invaluable knowledge for a lot of supporters, and a lot of viewers that will tune in and watch the programme will get a lot from that. So thank you very much. Can only say echo that. Say thanks, for very grateful and appreciative for you coming on and filling us in. He signed a 5-year deal, Makoto. I hope he stays for the duration.
Yeah, it would be fun to see. I think it's a good choice for him.
Excellent.
Nice one. Yeah, very much appreciated, Makoto. Cheers, Tony, as well. And I hope that all of you that are viewing have enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.